Hello，咁就好多謝大家今日嚟到我哋英倫海外升學中心同埋 Staffordshire U 一齊合辦嘅我哋嘅一個關於 game design 嘅或者係 Esports 嘅一個seminar 啦。咁我哋今日好高興啦，咁就有Staffordshire University 嘅 representative Lily 啦，咁就從英國 all the way 過嚟香港呢邊，咁就可以介紹下學校啦。咁重頭戲當然係佢哋會有學校嘅 academic 咧，係去講翻本身呢一個科目上面嘅需要注意啊，或者有啲咩特別嘅地方。咁我唔用太多時間啦，咁我哋就先將個時間交俾阿 Lily 啦。咁 Lily 會好簡單咁樣同我哋講介紹翻個 professor 啦 ，and then 完咗 professor 嗰個presentation 之後咧，Lily 會再會用少少時間係去generally 介紹翻間大學啦。in the end 啦，我哋可以有個 Q&A 嘅 session 啦，同埋咧我哋亦都會有 Zoom 嘅一個 breakout room 啦，咁可以俾學生 individually 咧係去見翻學校代表嘅。咁好啦，我將時間交俾 Lily， 唔該晒 Lily。
Hi，大家好，係啦，大家好，咁我喺英國嗰邊過咗嚟嘅，咁陣間完咗個 talk 之後咧，大家想同我 one to one 可以繼續留低喺個 Zoom 啦，又或者嚟緊嗰幾日可能想面對面見嘅，可以同 British United 嘅同事講翻，我都會可以同大家見面嘅。咁今日我哋我就會我哋 Staffordshire 啦，係英國最大嘅一間 Games University 嚟㗎。咁我哋開始咧，一開始我哋有 Dave 啦，我哋個 professor， 佢係我哋 Games Art 嘅一個 course director 啦。佢之前去過香港，去過中國，咁亦都教過我哋好多香港嘅學生嘅。咁佢會首先將個 subject area 同大家介紹翻，講下我哋個大學有啲乜嘢咁勁啦。然後咧，佢完咗之後，我哋可以嚟一個簡短嘅 academic 嘅一個 Q&A。咁再之後，我會再介紹多少少關於間學校同埋點樣去申請各樣嘅嘢嘅。咁事不宜遲，我就邀請 Dave 啦。等等下。Hey Dave, so we will let you to have the stage, and then you can share your screen. 好，大家等一等下。So.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you, Dave. Great. So I just gave a brief introduction to the students about you. So I'll you so you can share the screen. Let's see if it's working.
Okay. Here we go. Let's see if I can find that. Share screen. Share. Yes. Okay. Okay, just okay. Hopefully, you can everyone can see that.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, great. So welcome everybody. My name's Dave Edwards. I'm the course director for Game Art and Concepts at Staffordshire University. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about what we do in games and the courses that we have, and hopefully give you a good idea of what studying games at a UK university is going to be like. So let's move on. So a little bit of overview of what we're going to talk about, the department and the community of students and the facilities that we have, a little bit of what we do with industry as well, and some overview of the courses and where our students have gone out to work. So I think the first thing to say is that it is a course about making games and not playing games. I think that's a really obvious distinction to make, but perhaps not everyone is aware of that. We are looking to get you ready to go into a studio like this is PlayStation Studios and their God of War studio at the time in Santa Monica. But you know, you may be asked to play through a variety of different games as part of your course, maybe, or make parts of games. And it may be that you research some games, watch some different games of different playthroughs as you do that for analysis purposes and things like that. But certainly it's not about learning to play games or playing games better than you were before. All right, so that's perhaps a good distinction to make. I like to think of it as perhaps changing the idea of what you do from being a consumer of games, so a consumer of an entertainment product. So whether that's games, whether that's esports or anything else, you know, you're a player perhaps currently, maybe you enjoy playing games on a regular basis, enjoy watching them on various streams and things like that, watching other people play games. But the idea of the course is to go from that idea of being a consumer to a developer. So we're looking to give you the skills where you can create the content that will then be consumed by the next generation of players and of consumers and things like that. So that's perhaps how to start thinking a little bit about what a course in games and coming to university is really all about. It is very big business. It is a very real industry as well. We've got some stats on here to just minimize the thumbnail video there. The UK games market is a global market, it's a global industry, billions of players, billions of dollars in revenue, and lots of people playing and making games for various different platforms. We often like to think about games as being perhaps those PlayStation, or Switch or Xbox games perhaps, or even games that we might play on our PC. But you can see there's a lot of different ways that people actually play and consume games, with perhaps smartphones and tablet games accounting for more than half of the games market. And that's a huge amount of players, of people that would be willing to spend money on a game that you might make perhaps in the future and things like that. It is a very worldwide career as well. And I think what's important is that a degree at Staffordshire University in games development, games art, game design, or something like that, games programming, could take you across the globe, right? So perhaps you're thinking of traveling halfway around the world to study with us already, but it could take you further, right? A degree at Staffordshire University could take you to Germany to make games for Crytek, or France or Spain, perhaps at the EA studios in Sweden, Iceland, to work at CCP Games, America to look at things like Sony or Epic Games, perhaps even perhaps going back out east and making games out of places like Shanghai or into Japan even, or things like that. There's people that make games and use games development skills across the globe, and that's a really fantastic opportunity that you have. We have put our graduates out into a lot of different jobs. You may recognize some of the logos of some of the students here, of some of the studios here, and perhaps have played some of the games, things like some of the worldwide phenomenons. GTA perhaps is a great example of that sort of game, but we've also got games like EVE Online or Star Citizen, perhaps games like perhaps even the Warhammer games, or you know, and we've had people across the globe. People go to DICE in Sweden, to New Zealand to go work at Weta Digital. People going out into movies and into games as well to use all this technology. So there's a lot of different things out there, a lot of places that people have gone to work as well. The UK is a very much a hotbed of games development and of games industry. There's lots of businesses out there that make games. Over 2,000 businesses are registered with the UK government as being something to do with games, whether that's games development, but what we call a game service industry. You know, people that might provide translation services or accessibility services. There's an awful lot of people actually making games within the UK, whether that's small studios, people, perhaps 1, 2, or 3 entrepreneurs looking to break into the industry at the very start, or some of the big worldwide studios, you know, Rockstar and Sumo Digital, Playground Games, and Microsoft, actually making games in the UK. Sony's another big one in London as well. And some of the studios have 600 or 700 employees. So it is a very much a great place to come and work as well, perhaps when you've finished your degree. Staffordshire University, there we are. That's where we're located in the UK, for those that perhaps haven't found us yet. And yes, we are down here in the centre of the UK, as you look at it on a map. So we're between Birmingham and Manchester, and Liverpool as well. We're sort of in the middle of that triangle, if you like, and that's great for us. We're right on right at the point where we can travel up to a lot of different studios and go out to a lot of different places within easy reach. We have a train station at the university campus as well, so we can get to London in an hour and a half. We can get to Birmingham or Manchester in under an hour, Liverpool as well. So we have access for our students to go and have a look around perhaps these studios, or do work and collaborate with some of the people in those studios in a very easy way. We are a very big department. One of the things about games at Staffordshire University is the university have really invested in games, and to be considered a games university, I suppose that's quite fair, I think. We do have over 1,600 students in games. We're probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, games department in the UK, possibly even in Europe as well, I would say. There's a lot of people that we have to work. The picture that you're seeing at the top of the screen there on the right-hand side, that is a picture of our first year students. Okay, so we had over 600 first year students join us in September, and we had a technical artist from Rare come and talk to our students and welcome them to the course and give them a bit of a motivation for the start of their course. And as well as having a lot of students, we also have a lot of staff as well. So there's a lot of academics that make up the team. And what's great about that is, rather than going to perhaps a university that has one or two or three academics that teach games or are part of games, we have a big department. So if you want to find an expert in AI, procedural content generation, in character design, in character art, in concept art, in digital painting, in using tools like Houdini or Marvelous Design, or creating real-time hair, or systems design, or game mechanics and Unreal Engine, you can find those members of staff at the university and they can help you with their project. So we have some very specialized staff members, and that's really, really great for our student success and supporting that student success. I would say that the university is a small sort of part of the game industry, really, and it's very much a chance for people to experience what it's like to be in the industry just by being a student. As well as studying, there's a lot of things that folks can do as well. So one opportunity is that students make societies or join societies to help support their education. Some of those societies are fun. They are things to do outside of your studies. Play games, Super Smash Bros, League of Legends, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Pokemon, things like that, Splatoon. It's just a bit of fun in after your class on a Wednesday. Perhaps these societies usually run once a week, but there are societies that are supporting the learning of students as well. Places like Games Dev Society, the Digital Art and Concept Society, or the Life Drawing Society really help students sort of understand some of the key skills. And that's all been set up by students sort of mentoring other students and sharing the passion for the subject they're studying. So it's really, really, really good. And that's all supported by the student union. We do have a lot of industry standard I'm going to call them toys because they're great fun to play with, but an industry standard equipment that you can actually use as well. We've got Wacom tablets, a very large motion capture studio, life drawing space, laser scanning facilities that students can have access to, get trained on and use on a regular basis. And we spend an awful lot of money on industry standard software and hardware to help support our students' learning as well. So just last year, we spent £1.5 million on equipment, on graphics cards and new PCs throughout our department. And we do have over 500 HP workstations. They are dual screens, Xeon Core, 32 gig of RAM workstations, very much capable of developing games content. And almost all of our graphics cards are RTX 2030, and we've I think only have one room of 10 series, which are used by the concept artists. They don't necessarily need quite as high powered tech as our game developers and perhaps some of our game artists. We do have lots of Wacom tablets and things like that, and a lot of floating licenses of industry standard software. So if you can see the software there, if you know some of the software already that are used to make games, we will absolutely be using that, and you'll have access to that throughout the university and the games development department. We do have a place for 3D printing and for VR and mixed reality development, as well as using PS4 and PS5, or soon to get PS5 development kits as well. And you can hire out equipment as well. And that means that you don't have to bring a lot of your own equipment with you when you come to study. Some students do. They bring their gaming desktop PC perhaps, or they buy one to play games while they're here. But you can hire out an awful lot of equipment to support you as well. We do have some dedicated life drawing spaces as well. So for those taking art courses, we do have dedicated spaces for drawing. We draw models in a traditional life drawing setting, but we also draw a lot of costumed performers as well. So people that are into reenactments. So people are perhaps in medieval armor, or in soldier costume, or and people that dress up as characters as well. We actually pay some of the students who are really interested in this, and that's a good way for the students to make a little bit of money, but also to perhaps provide something for their friends and the students on the course to draw as part of what they're doing. We also draw animals as well, and get out and draw cars and airplanes. We go to various different, we've been to the armory museums, and we've been out to RAF museums to draw planes and things like that as well. So we do a lot of historical drawings at the same time as well, which is great fun. We do like to bring you and the industry as close as we possibly can. So we do an awful lot of work in terms of things like guest lectures, live briefs, and graduate shows. So things like where you can meet people from the industry and ask them questions about how things work. We do things like mock interviews with the games industry as well, and get them to ask questions, and get our students out there in front of the industry as well. So just recently we held a student conference at the university, and we invited a lot of the biggest companies in the UK to come and speak at the conference. We had 20 speakers. We had 2 rooms of speakers happening at the same time. We had 7 companies come and exhibit in our expo space, which is the pictures you can see on the bottom here. And that was a great opportunity for students to just come and talk to prospective employers and ask them about getting jobs and portfolios and CVs and things like that. So what skills they might need to secure employment when they finish their course. Really great fun, really great time. And that's all completely free. It's hosted at the university on campus. So you can come out of your university halls of residence, and it's just there for you to access when you might need it, which is really great. We've had a lot of industry success as well. And I think one of the things that makes sure that it's really validating for our courses is to know that, what we're doing works, right? What we're doing is valued by the games industry and by those that are looking to take it. So one of the things I think is great is looking at the industry voting for who they think is perhaps the best education institution or the best education initiative. In the last 3 years, we've picked up a good handful of prizes recognizing the success and the hard work of our students, of our staff, and our contribution to university and the games industry collaboration to help students secure jobs over time. So that has been a really great success. So when students say, but does this course get people into jobs? Does this course do what, give me the skills I need? I would say this is a great validation to say, yes, it does. There's lots of different careers within the games industry, and I think it's important to recognize your own skills and your own passions with some of these skills. So these are perhaps some of the skills that would be required to go out there and perhaps develop a game. So these are perhaps people mainly in charge of development. And there's lots of different skills in there as well. And I think it's important to recognize what you're passionate about and what you're interested in. Are you more artistic? Are you more interested in maths and science and perhaps programming? Are you more interested in looking at designing an experience for someone else to play? Do you enjoy project management and people management? Do you enjoy audio and music and things like that, perhaps even animation? And thinking about how you could take those skills into careers within the game industry. We've sort of reduced these overall sort of areas into 3 main areas. So our courses tend to sit in one of these 3 areas: design, art, and programming. Design courses tend to look, as it says there, about the gameplay experience, the rules of the game, what the player is doing and why they're doing it. Is it fun? How long do they do it for? Are they gathering resources and then crafting that into, you know, a new weapon, or upgrading their weapons in the game. Are they, you know, upgrading their skills so they can move faster, or, you know, perhaps attack or defend more easily? And the design courses are there to look at all of the different things about sort of controlling what players do and why they do it as well. The art courses tend to look at the things you see when you play a game. So the character models on screen, the environments that you walk around, the creatures perhaps that you fight against, things like that, as well as the weapons and all the different things you see when you play a game, all the props and the things inside buildings and everything else as well. We also look at the design process behind that with our concept art course, and actually looking at working at designing and painting those and getting those ready to be handed over. So our art courses are very much an idea of creating the visual side of what you see in games. And our programming courses, these are the folks that are perhaps way more interested in the maths, the science, the programming behind things, making things work. So once the designer has understood what the game is going to be, the programmers are the people that actually bring that to life, if you like, and to actually ensure that it all works as expected. The game runs well, it plays well, and things like that as well. You can see there's a lot of good skills required in terms of things like analytical skills, math skills, and good science skills and things like that. And I think that's, you know, those people are well rewarded for their skills and knowledge in that area. So programming is very much an in-demand job within the games industry, and yeah, very much a good avenue to go down if you're interested in your maths and science. So what we do is we've said that these pillars of games development, these art, design, and technology courses, will all come together to make a game. So each student will be part of a collaborative team where they will join together and make a game. So in the second year, the students are junior members of that team, and in the third year, the students are the seniors or the leads. They're people that's in charge of what the game will look like, how the game will play, and then communicate that to the second year students and mentor them. And it's a great way of developing those extra skills that make you sort of what we would say is industry ready. We would, you know, that you know how to work in a team, that you can collaborate and communicate with other people. You can project manage, you can communicate an art style perhaps, or communicate a technical sprint to your team, and delegate tasks and have everyone come together and not be working on the same thing and things like that. So it's a really great way of developing a lot of extra skills in terms of what we do. And the students do come together to make some fantastic games. The courses that we have out there, as we mentioned, these games design courses, technology courses, and art and concept courses, we've got a lot of different courses, as you can see there. So there's 2 or 3 courses under each area, and it's about looking at those courses for how much of something perhaps do you want to do. So as an example, computer games programming is very much a programming course where you focus on low-level games programming, AI, making sure systems work, graphics work at a very sort of what we call low level. So making sure all the resources in the PC work as you would expect to make sure these things run. But a course like computer game design and programming, you look a little bit more at bringing in some game design philosophy as part of that. You also look at using game engines a little bit more, and building on top of game engines. So some of these courses, they do switch a little bit or change depending on which one you do. For example, games art is all about the 3D modeling and the stuff you see when you play a game, whereas concept art is all about the design of that and the digital painting of that as well. And so, yeah, there's a lot of information regarding these courses out there. So do feel free to have a look and have a read. And if you do have any questions, obviously you can come and ask us and talk a little bit about what the differences are between these courses. But yeah, I think it's a lot about finding the course that matches with the sorts of careers that you want and the sort of skills that you have, rather than just picking a course name because you like it or it sounds perhaps familiar. So definitely worth investigating these courses. But I think they're fairly straightforward as well. As I mentioned before, we do have a lot of success with placing students into jobs, and that, you know, we've done this for a long time. We know what we're doing. It's been very successful. But one of the things I think is really important as well is looking at how well we've done by looking at some of the UK studios. So we use LinkedIn to do this, and LinkedIn is a great way. It's like an always on CV, and it sort of tracks folks' employments over a period of time. But it's a great way to sort of look at companies and also find out where the people who work at those companies, where did they go to university? What did they perhaps study at university? And we looked at some of the big game studios in the UK, and we looked at where the people that work in those studios actually studied. And you can see there that we were in the top 1 or 2 or 3 places with a lot of these studios, and even something like perhaps Creative Assembly, which is down in the south of the UK, quite far south near the coast, and Rockstar in Scotland. Even when we're quite far away from Staffordshire University as a location, you can see that our students are in the top 5 of universities of where people have gone to study to go there. So you can see that's great for us. You know, it's really, again, shows success that our students are very successful and do get jobs. So thank you very much for taking time to listen to me. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask away. I'm sure that we'll be able to get you some answers. I hope you found that very useful. And if you need to get in touch with us, then absolutely you can reach out to us at these places. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. So 大家有任何問題可以喺 chat box 嗰度打低，咁我可以讀出嚟啦。咁然後阿 Dave 就會答我哋嗰啲問題嘅。咁所以歡迎大家喺個 chat box 嗰度留言。So Dave, thank you so much. We already got 1 or 2 questions from sent in to us. So I'm going to ask you both in I'll say in Chinese and then in English. If you can then answer us, that would be great. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. So one of the questions that students have is about portfolio. 咁有好多學生咧都會問啦。咁頭先 Dave 有提到咧，你有時可能中意藝術嘅，你想報 Games Art 啦。咁你一定通常申請嘅時候咧，你要交一個portfolio 啦，俾學校睇究竟你有啲咩藝術嘅底啦。咁我哋一齊問下 Dave 有冇啲咩 tips？ Dave, so what kind of tips would you have for students to when they submit a portfolio, when they want to apply for games art related courses?
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing because I have a slide that perhaps will help, and maybe people can take a screenshot or a picture of it, perhaps. So I'm gonna stop sharing there. I'm gonna bring up a picture, something that will help. So give me 1 moment. Here we go. Okay, so if I just reshare my screen again now, hopefully that you'll be able to share screen. So hopefully you can see that. There we go. So what you can see on screen there is the tips and advice that we would recommend for students looking for games art or concept art related courses. What we're looking for is visually creative work. We're looking for, I think if you're looking for a games art course, any kind of experience in 3D modeling is fantastic. So if you can get hold of some of the software to do some 3D modeling, it doesn't have to be industry standard software. It can be software like Blender or something like that, or ZBrush Core Mini, something where you can just have a play. It could be software on your tablet perhaps, or a mobile app that allows you to do sort of sculpting, and any experience of that is fantastic. Any visually creative artistic work or artistic problem solving. Have you designed your own characters perhaps for games that you've been playing, or for things like that? Have you drawn any ideas for games or things like that? Would be fantastic. So that's what I would say for games art. For concept art, if folks are looking at concept art, this is much more about sort of digital painting. So there's quite a few apps out there that allow people to do that, things like Clip Studio or Procreate, that people can use on iPads and on tablets. So that's really useful. But then traditional drawing skills and sketchbooks as well is fantastic. So if you've got traditional art skills from art classes or art education, That's great. And again, any kind of design things you've done for perhaps you designing your own building, or perhaps a level that perhaps you can imagine a game being set in, or a character that you might want to see in a game. Things like that are fantastic for us to see. So yeah, that's why I'd say we do have some videos that support this as well, posted on YouTube. If you can see those, but that's the advice on the screen there. So I would definitely recommend taking a photo on your PC or on your phone, and using that as a basis.
Thank you, Dave. That's amazing. So I will just speak a bit in Cantonese now. 係咯，同學我哋會 share British United 嘅同事都會 share 翻一啲資料俾大家嘅。咁頭先 Dave 講到嘅就係好簡單啦。如果係 art related 嘅話咧，你只要 show 到俾老師睇，你對於藝術啊有畫過畫啊，你點樣去構思一啲角色或者構思一啲藝術嘅 idea 嘅話咧，咁都 OK 㗎啦。係啦，咁我繼續不停可以喺個 chat box 度留言俾我哋嘅。So Dave, there is so you mentioned in the presentation about in different courses like design or programming is require students to do subjects about maths related subjects. Are those like entry requirement for the courses or not? Or anyone who are interested in game, as long as they meet the basic, like let's say UCAS points, then they can enter?
I think UCAS points is the start. Yeah, I think UCAS points is the starting point. I think if you're looking at doing a programming course, any kind of experience in programming or maths is definitely advantageous. So definitely something that's going to benefit you, because you will be doing that. But you don't need a certain grade in an A level in maths, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So 係咯，咁所以頭先阿 Dave 都講咗啦，就係我哋冇特定學科嘅 entry requirement 嘅。咁只要同學仔你哋滿咗我哋嘅要求啦，咁譬如你讀香港DSE 嘅，咁你只要333或以上啦，我哋冇學科，即係唔使話你一定要讀個數學或者其他科，只要你達到基本嗰個 entry requirement 嘅話咧，同埋加英文，咁我哋都會收同學仔嘅。咁當然，如果你本身有數學底嘅，咁就可能會上手上得快啲啦。但係就算你冇嘅，都唔需要擔心，因為我哋會係由零開始計嘅，就唔會即係零開始教嘅，咁就唔使話驚話自己冇讀過就唔想報唔敢報咁樣嘅。So, Dave, we got more question now, which is really cool. So, we got one in English. The student asked, are there any skills that are really important in games design? Should the student specialize one of the 3 pillars of game design, or should the student have more general knowledge in it?
I think in game design, then more general skills to start with are great, because if you're designing a game experience, then it's good to know a little bit of all those things, so you can communicate with artists and with programmers and with other designers. So I think if you're looking at perhaps something that's a very specific design course, I think a starting entry point is knowing a bit of all of those things is great. And then as you go through the course, you will choose a specialist pathway as you go through to be able to do a little bit more, and things like your own final year project, your dissertation, for example, you can really sort of choose to get a deep knowledge of a certain subject. But to start with, I think for design, something quite general is great, and any kind of experience of a game engine, if you just had built your own levels or something like that, or a little mini game from tutorials online, that's great. It's a great start.
Amazing. So just one tricky question. Let's say if we have a student who started a year 1 in games design, but then during the first year of his course or her course, he or she wanted to change subject. Is that a possibility in that within the games department?
Yes, yeah, you can. We have a lot of opportunities when students choose to change. So sometimes students apply for a course and change before they start, so that we can do that. We can just move you over before the course even starts at the beginning. And sometimes students apply for a course around now, but by the time they come next September, they've wanted to do more programming or more art, and it's just a matter of talking to the course leader and changing over. it's a very easy process. We have what's called a transfer window, a 3 weeks at the start of the course when a student can change between different courses. If a course is very similar, so if you're going between game art and concept art, or game design and gameplay design and production, for example, courses that sit in the same kind of area, then I would say you can sometimes change at the end of the first year without too much trouble. Usually we check to see whether you've got the skills to succeed in the second year. What were your results like? If you performed well, then it's a lot easier for that to happen. If you were going between, say, you started on games art and then you wanted to do programming, or the other way around, we would suggest you restart the course in your first year, because there'd be a lot that you've missed. So if it was very different, then we would just ask you to perhaps at the end of your first year, just start the first year again on the new course. Okay, so
thank you. That's amazing to know. So one last question. It's a similar question than before. They just want to make sure that for game concept art, if they apply for the course, they don't need to take any GCSE or A-level related art subject. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we would look more at the portfolio and the points. So it doesn't have to have a specific subject. But if you've got, as we said, as we can see on the screen, strong drawing skills and character design skills, if you've not specifically studied those, but you draw in your own time very regularly, and you've got a good portfolio, then that would count. Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Dave. 係啦，我見到最後仲有一個問題嘅，咁我可以好快咁答到同學，就係話我哋呢啲 course 咧全部唔需要 interview 噶，咁所以同學仔只要報嘅時候寫清楚你嘅 personal statement 點解想揀呢科啦，跟住咧就係portfolio 嘅話列好嘅話咧，我哋都可以會收到嘅。係啦，Dave, thank you so much. I'm going to carry on in Chinese. So if you, I know you are busy with other teaching as well. So please feel free to go. And if I get more question, I will let you know. 同學仔唔好走住，咁因為阿 Dave 佢要教書，咁可能佢就會走先。咁但係我咧就會繼續有幾個緊要嘅 slides 係廣東話嘅，會講翻俾你聽學科啊點樣申請啊各樣嘅嘢嘅。咁首先我哋多謝阿 Dave 去俾我哋呢個 presentation 啦。So thank you, Dave.
Thanks very much. Thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Have a great day.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
係啦，咁同學仔我哋繼續嘅，咁因為見到頭先咧有同學仔問關於譬如學科嘅價錢啊各樣嘅嘢啦，咁我嚟緊幾版嘅啫，大家頂住，因為知可能未食飯嘅，咁就我哋好快咁樣講多幾個先。咁我哋 Staffordshire University 啦，頭先阿 Dave 咧佢講咗話學校係全英國最大嘅 games 嘅大學啦。咁幾樣嘢，佢好多學生讀 games 嘅，最多學科，亦都係同個行業聯繫最好嘅大學啦，攞咗好多獎嘅。咁究竟 Staffordshire 喺邊咧？即係你可能喺英國未聽過噶嘛。咁但睇下先，撳下先，睇下喐唔喐。好。係啦，咁我哋一齊睇下，大家見到英國咧係右下角呢個咪倫敦嘅，跟住第二大城市叫Birmingham 伯明翰啦，咁跟住如果有睇足球嘅，一定知 Manchester 啦 ，Manchester United 啊嘛，咁你坐火車咧，倫敦去 Manchester 經 Birmingham 嗰條主火車線，其中一點咧就係我哋學校 Stoke-on-Trent 嘅呢一點。咁學校就喺嗰度，我哋一出火車站2分鐘就到，就係一個好方便嘅一個campus 嚟嘅。咁一啲圖片啦，見到周圍有啲乜嘢啦。咁頭先一直喺度講 games 好勁，點解咧？其中一個好簡單嘅原因，我哋間學校有過百年嘅歷史嘅，1914年開始，佢本身係間 polytechnic 嚟㗎。咁意思即係所有關於 computing 啊、art and design 啊，呢啲相關嘅學科咧，佢哋都會係做得好出色啦。去到1992年就成為綜合性嘅大學。咁所以即使佢係一間叫做 Post 92嘅大學咧，佢都有好耐嘅歷史嘅。咁主要啦，呢啲我係啦，最主要就係間學校比較細，唔會話好大。你譬如上堂你得到嘅support啊嗰啲都會係比較好嘅。咁我哋講緊你譬如 當你最大嗰一堂啦，你可能 maximum 得80個人嘅啫。咁但係你每個禮拜都有好多堂咧，都係得10零個學生一齊上。咁所以你報得我哋嘅咧，你就預咗自己唔好走堂啦。老師一定會記得你嘅。咁如果你諗住想過嚟 hea 下嘅話咧，呢間未必係你想要嘅，因為佢都係比較細班咁去教啦。咁另外頭先阿 Dave 都講咗嘅 graduate 嘅 outcome 啊，你揾工啊，你沿住由 year one 開始咧，佢會不停咁樣去幫你寫 CV 啊 interview， 同啲公司做好多唔同嘅 networking 啊，有一啲嗰啲職業展啊，請啲老細嚟睇你嘅畢業作品啊，或者係學年嘅作品都會有嘅。咁所以呢啲圖片啦，睇下我哋嗰啲設施有幾靚幾勁啦。咁頭先阿 Dave 講話 Tiger， 咁大家今日嚟得聽嘅，可能我知可能有啲學生對 Esports 有興趣。咁因為今日時間唔夠咧，我哋唔係講得太多關於電競呢一個學科嘅。我哋學校係全英國第一間推電競呢個學科嘅大學啦。咁如果學生同學仔你哋有興趣嘅話，記住聯絡翻 British United 嘅同事，我哋可以再約翻一啲 one-to-one 網上嘅session 去同你講解翻揀 Esports 啊，或者佢個就業嘅前途係點樣㗎啦。咁我哋會有好多唔同嘅 arena 嘅。咁嗱，在座咁多位咧，全部都對 games 有興趣嘅，寫翻低TIGA， 翻去揾 Google 下。咁 TIGA 咧就叫 Tiger 啦。咁就喺英國全部 games 嘅 company 咧，佢哋都係 part of 呢一個 association 嘅。咁你上去佢哋個官網咧，佢哋會話俾你聽英國依家嗰個行業嘅就業情況啊，有咩工啊，有咩 company 啊，然後每年佢哋會頒獎嘅，去 recognize 翻唔同大學嘅一啲成績啊、卓越嘅地方啦。咁我哋由2020年開始，每年都有攞獎嘅。咁一啲圖片啦，我哋喺倫敦都有 campus 嘅。倫敦咧淨係有 games 同埋 computing 嘅科可以報。咁呢個如果有興趣都可以問翻 British United 嘅同事。係啦，頭先嗰啲都係有講到話，我哋 QS 咧 employability 即係揾工咧係攞5星星，即係滿分嘅。咁就因為頭先一講到你由一開始 year one 會問你開始問你㗎啦，你想做乜嘢，然後開始咧就幫你去配對一啲就做緊嘢嘅一啲畢業嘅學生或者做緊嘢嘅 designer， 去確保你有咩任何行業嘅問題咧都可以有人幫到你啦。然後你做嘅所有 project 咧，都係幫你去 build up 你個 portfolio 嘅，以至去到你臨近year 2尾或者 year 3咧，就會有好多 industry， 即係行業入邊嘅一啲 event， 即係可能譬如揾工嘅一啲展覽啊，或甚至乎你畢業嘅時候，所有嘢你放出嚟，我哋會有 exhibition， 跟住請啲公司過嚟睇。好多時候佢哋去過嚟睇咧，佢哋會 offer internship， 甚至乎 job interview 俾同學仔嘅。咁就變咗好多時候未畢業就可以揾到工㗎啦。係啦，呢個就係所有頭先 game 嗰啲嘢啦。咁我都係啦，趕住食飯啊，知道，所以咧我哋都 skip 咗啲先嘅。咁頭先咧有問到 entry requirement 嘅，咁講到啦，我哋 DSE 333或以上都會收嘅。英文方面咧，我哋 IELTS 要6分，或者你 DSE 4分。如果你唔夠嘅，唔使擔心。咁你問翻我哋 British United 嘅同事，可以教到你，話俾你聽有其他乜嘢選擇。我哋會有自己嘅 internal test 啦。我有同學仔試過佢 DSE 攞3分，咁但係用我哋個 internal test 咧，佢考咗之後咧，網上嘅啫，大概4個鐘。佢係成功 meet 到個 entry requirement 㗎，咁所以就算你唔夠分都好，你唔使驚，唔使絕望，係有其他嘅方法去達到嗰個 entry requirement 嘅。另一個情況就係英文唔夠，可以報網上嘅語言科4個禮拜到6個禮拜嘅，咁就價錢 OK 嘅，咁但係就可以幫你培訓叫做咩啊？雞精班去幫你 up 翻你嗰個英文嘅程度啦，咁就可以答翻我哋嗰個 entry requirement 嘅。咁頭先問到啦，價錢方面，我哋無論你讀碩士或者係undergrad 咧，都係16,750英鎊嘅。咁但係咧，我哋每年咧係會有3000磅嘅scholarship 啦。咁意思即係如果你讀 undergrad 嘅話，係 total 9000磅嘅 scholarship 俾到你嘅。咁呢個 scholarship 咧，我哋就要俾同學仔要盡早申請嘅。你只要成功攞到 unconditional offer 入到嚟讀嘅話咧，個 scholarship 都會 automatically 咁俾到你嘅。咁所以就 冇 quota，但係咧係有 deadline，所以你就要越早報越好嘅。我哋 recommend 同學仔係5月之前就好遞申請㗎啦。你越遲嘅話咧，就好有機會個 course 會刪咗，因為我哋喺英國咧 games 嘅成個 department 咧喺英國好 popular， 好多時候係太多申請我哋收唔晒嘅，咁所以你就算未拎成績，乜嘢都未拎都好咧，你都預早去申請。咁但係又唔使話你2-3年前就申請嘅，咁你只要譬如你話9月入學嘅，咁下年9月入學，咁你依家就好準備遞申請，可能2-3月之前咧就將嗰個 application 搞掂，交好咁就好噶啦。咁另外一點咧就係因為頭先提到我哋喺 Stoke-on-Trent 啦，個 accommodation 住宿同埋你嗰個生活費咧都係相對一啲大城市平好多嘅。咁就如果你哋係按一個 budget 係希望個 finance 方面係會比較 flexible 啲嘅話咧，咁 Staffordshire 會係一個幾好嘅選擇嘅。最尾啦，講一講個 student life， 因為頭先阿 Dave 講咗好多關於行業啦，甚至乎學術方面嘅嘢，咁但係佢冇講太多關於間學校嘅。咁頭先講話學校好個地理位置好好嘅，因為英國有啲大學可能係山卡拉咁遠，你要去去倫敦啊，你可能轉完巴士再轉火車再轉車咁樣嘅。咁但係咧，我哋係黃色呢個圈就係火車站啦，一出門口2分鐘對面就係大學嚟㗎啦。咁你見到就好近好方便，住嘅地方都係 on campus 啦，有啲冇喺個圖度 show 出嚟，但係最遠嘅就行路10分鐘嘅啫。咁呢個 train station 個圖片啦。accommodation 有好多種揀嘅，唔係話5星級啦，咁但係都係好叫做乜嘢咧？好即係所有嘢樣樣俱全嘅。你會同好多 local 英國嘅學生 share 啦 kitchen， 亦都會有 ensuite 自己洗手間嘅一啲選擇。咁你通常第一年就同我住學校，但係2-3年嘅時候咧就會揀喺出面同啲同學仔 share house 咁樣，就可以多啲唔同嘅選擇。咁有好多唔同嘅 support 咧，我哋都會俾到學生嘅。如果之後同學仔有時間，仍然好有興趣嘅咧，可以上我哋個網，有個 virtual tour 嘅。咁你 click 落去，佢就好似 Google Map 咁360度咁樣俾你睇到學校嘅設施係點樣嘅。咁去幫你適應一下，睇下究竟間學校啱唔啱你啦。咁然後咧，呢個係我哋其中一個 alumni 香港學生阿 Michael 佢上2年畢業嘅，佢睇一睇，我哋睇下你讀 games 啊，講譬如 game design， 你讀完又可以做到啲乜？你睇下，唔希望你個電腦夠大睇到角落頭嗰度啦。你睇下先，你見唔見到佢側邊呢度所有嘅 game 全部係佢自己一手一腳 design 啦，去 program 啦，製造出嚟嘅。咁佢係佢 Year 3嘅時候同老師講，我想做 internship 啊。但係咧，冇揾唔到啦，或者佢未揾啦。老師咧知佢好乖，就攞住佢依個右下角呢一個 portfolio 咧，俾佢個 friend 睇。咁老師個 friend 咧就真係公司嘅老闆啦。咁頭先講到話，我哋同 industry 嘅聯繫好好嘅原因，就係因為好多老師係喺 industry 度走出嚟教嘅。咁佢哋就會同好多company 嘅 connection 仍然係好好關係啦。咁所以咧，佢就介紹 Michael 去做個 internship Year 3。做咗2個月之後咧 ，Michael Year 3 Sem 1咧就已經有 job offer， 未畢業就已經 secure 咗個 job。佢去到今時今日咧，都仍然係做緊同一間公司嘅。咁呢個就其中一個例子。只要同學仔係肯讀嘅，真係對 games passion 嘅，你就一定可以會有好多唔同嘅 opportunity 咯。係啦，咁我就係啦 Lily 啦，咁依家仲喺香港，咁下個禮拜飛啦。咁但係如果同學仔有興趣嘅，記住同 British United 嘅老師聯絡啦。然後咧我哋可以再約翻 one-to-one online 嘅一個對話，咁然後就協助翻你哋去申請啦。以至乎可能未必係 game 嘅，對其他科目都有興趣，但係想喺一個 game 嘅 community 嘅環境下讀書嘅話咧 Staffordshire 都會係一個好嘅選擇咯。咁今日咧我就交翻俾British United 嘅老師去同你哋大家講解翻，咁希望大家之後可以見到面嘅。
好啦，咁好多謝阿 Lily 今日過嚟同我哋係去分享翻 Staffordshire University 啦。咁大家如果有任何問題嘅，其實都 welcome 喺如果大家有任何問題嘅話咧，其實都可以喺翻嗰個chat box 嗰度講翻啦。咁我哋亦都可以即場答翻嗰啲問題嘅。 不如咁啊，我都問一問 Lily 啊，大概今年有大概幾多香港學生係喺 Staffordshire 咧？因為都驚可能會唔會冇其他同學仔一齊㗎？
我哋香港人，我哋唔係話好多嘅，但係啱啱9月咧，我哋有10幾個香港嘅學生入嚟讀，大部分都係讀 game related 嘅 course 咯。咁睇翻大家啦，我哋有遇過一啲內地嘅學生，佢哋會話想過嚟英國讀書，要全部同學仔都係中國嘅，講中文嘅。咁如果係嘅話，我哋學校未必適合你啦，因為我哋學校係好多主打係 local 英國學生啦。咁變咗香港學生唔多，但係會有個 community 俾你去 reach out to 咯。
係咁就大家會唔會有啲其他問題咧？
可以見到有個問題咧，就係同學仔讀緊英國 Sixth Form 啦。你有2個選擇嘅，可以經 UCAS 或者經 British United 申請，唔需要經 UCAS 都可以嘅。咁但係頭先提到啦，就係越早申請越好，即係就算你未有 result 都好咧，你遞咗申請先，因為我哋好多時候好早就會刪咗個 application 噶啦，因為收得太多。咁所以你有興趣，我會 recommend 你依家就好準備報啦。
正常如果你喺英國讀緊 Sixth Form 嘅，咁學校其實應該正常就會有 UCAS support 啦，咁就會即係 support 你喺personal statement 啊，或者如果你真係需要portfolio 嘅support 都可以，學校都應該會有嘅。咁但係如果你話你需要有一啲 extra 嘅 support 嘅，咁我哋中心本身係可以即係 advise 翻學生點樣寫 personal statement 啊，點樣執你個 UCAS 啊 UCAS 嘅 application 啦，點樣執你個 portfolio 啊，甚至可能係你喺 UCAS 度報咗5間之後，你想揾多一個 option 嘅，我哋寫一個第6嘅 option 係去幫你報，我哋都可以做到嘅。咁所以就你都可以 contact 翻嗰個我負責嘅同事啦。咁應該係9月係啦，係啦。咁就我見到下一個 question 就係最早幾時可以報啦？咁就正常咧 UCAS 嘅開始日報名日期咧就係23年嘅9月，你可以開始報24年9月 entry 嘅 course 嘅。咁大學嘅話咧，正常如果你9月份即刻去報嘅話，學校要啲時間去處理你個 application 嘅話，我expect 應該可能即係11、12月左右就可能會有嗰個答案㗎啦。係啦，咁我見到有另外一個問題啦，咁就可以俾翻 Lily 啦。
嗱，同學仔呢讀 community college 嘅話咧，通常睇翻啦，如果你係喺美國嗰啲 community college 啊，我唔係太清楚香港，但係如果你譬如美國咧，佢有好多科俾你揀嘅。我哋要求唔會太唔需要話你一定要讀個 game 嘅，咁所以我覺得你最主要揀一個你自己中意讀嘅科，你覺得自己可以讀得好嘅，然後咧再揀一啲 electives 或者extra 嘅一啲 curriculum 嘅 course 係同 games 或者 programming 有關嘅話咧，咁就已經夠㗎啦。因為頭先提到咧，我哋係冇一個特定科目嘅 entry requirement，即係唔使話你讀過 maths 或者 computing 先可以 join game 嘅，咁所以會比較 flexible 咯。最主要就係你要讀得好，即係你攞夠個分咁入到嚟嘅。咁如果相對你話想報art 嘅 games art 啊，或者係 concept art 嘅話咧，咁當然你如果係同一啲art 有關嘅科目嘅話，就會幫到你去做個 portfolio，令到你個申請會容易好多咯。係啦。
係啦，咁就係咯。我自己覺得，如果本身 game design 其實係可以中學直接入嘅，就未必一定需要經community college 嘅。係啦，咁就所以如果你讀完中學之後，無論你係邊一個 qualification 啦，香港就係 DSE 啦、IB 啦，英國就係 A level 啦，甚至可能有啲美國嘅係一啲 high school 啊、加拿大啊、澳洲嗰啲，其實你只要 complete 到high school 嘅，其實因為 game design 可以從大學 degree 開始讀起嘅，咁就唔係話一定要係 advanced entry 或者係 post 即係 postgrad 嘅 entry 嘅，所以我覺得都可以 係咯，即係你都可以考慮，就唔需要一定經 community college，但係就冇任何 subject prerequisite 嘅。係啦，咁仲會唔會有其他問題？大家？咁我都見到係應該差唔多啦。咁都唔阻大家咁耐時間啦。咁亦都好多謝 Lily 今日join in 我哋呢一個 session 啦。咁如果大家有任何其他問題嘅，亦都好歡迎直接同翻負責嘅 consultant 聯絡啦。咁我哋亦都可以 advise on 多啲你嘅 question 嘅。咁好多謝大家今日嚟參加我哋呢一個 seminar 啦。咁就我哋個 session 都會完結㗎啦。唔該晒大家。